When people ask what church I belong to, I frequently refer to an individual Unitarian Universalist who encapsulates what it means to be a UU, often a famous American patriot like John Adams or Paul Revere or Susan B. Anthony, names that I'm sure people will recognize. But there's another person who comes to my mind, and many years ago I read a book by Albert Schweitzer called Out of My Life and Thought. This was before I realized that he was a Unitarian Universalist. He was born in 1875 in Alsace-Lorraine, that section of France that went back and forth between the two countries, whichever country was in power. He was a foremost expert or scholar on Bach, and he was an expert organist, and he was an expert at repairing organs. So often he would repair the organ before he would perform. He studied at the universities in Strasbourg and Paris and Berlin with degrees in musicology, theology, and philosophy. And he wrote a thesis on eschatology, the study of the divinity of Christ. So essentially, like many UUs, he was not afraid to question or explore controversial theological topics. He questioned dogma. In his 30s, in 1905, after serving as a minister, he left that comfortable established lifestyle to study medicine and to dedicate himself to service, as Christ said, to be a fisher of men. And in 1913, he founded a world-renowned hospital in Equatorial Africa, in Congo, funded by the Lutheran Church, with an understanding that he not preach because of that study, that thesis on eschatology, questioning the divinity of Christ. He was not a missionary for the Lutheran Church. During World War I and II, he was incarcerated or detained, and he wrote several books, and he won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1952 for his philosophy, The Reverence for Life. And from 1952 until his death, he worked against nuclear testing and nuclear weapons with Albert Einstein and Bertrand Russell. So here's a man bigger than life, exhausting to even comprehend what he accomplished, and he's never resting on his laurels. So what do I have in common with him that I would even aspire to follow in his footsteps? I like my creature comforts. I like to sleep in. I like my stuff. I get easily distracted. But something about Albert Einstein's words speak to me and give me hope and direction. He said, seek always to do some good somewhere. He also speaks of gratitude and never taking anything for granted. So what do we have in common? I hope both of us are optimists with a sense of humor. He said, happiness is nothing more than good health and bad memory. He believed in our UU seventh principle, which he described and defined as the reverence for life, and I wish I'd thought of that. He was a humanist, basing his life on reason and medicine and science, and through his actions to make life better on earth. He also joined the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is a UU congregation with no geographical boundaries, comprised of thousands of people around the world, connecting them for spiritual growth and worship and mutual support. So you can be in the Yukon or the Congo, or you can be housebound in the Woodlands, Texas, and before online services, you could be a part of a congregation and enjoy the sermon. Today, the CLF has over 3,500 members, including 1,000 of which who are incarcerated. I imagine him sitting at his desk with his cat writing, or performing surgery in a remote area of Congo, inspired and comforted by a sermon sent to him through the Church of the Larger Fellowship. And I too am comforted by his example and by the many Unitarian Universalist friends who lend me spiritual guidance and mutual support. And I try to play it forward. So I'll end with Albert Schweitzer's words. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with great gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.